Wall Street, can it do anything better to help foster growth?
JP Morgan, we've always tried to do our part to make it better. In fact, in the crisis, we lent money to California and cities and schools and states, and a lot of things by was quite risky and scary at the time to help keep people alive and grow it. So I think a lot of banks are doing the things that make it better. And yes, of course, Wall Street has done some terrible things like other industries that it's been punished for, but let's not punish them so much that we don't grow the economy.
What does the state of your mortgage business really say about the broader U.S. economy?
Let me give you a short term and the long run. In the short term, okay, the U.S. economy is broad-based, growing 2 and 2.5%. Consumers are in better shape. The debt service, how much of their income goes to service debt is back to where it was in 1985. Household formation is going up, asset prices are going up, 401ks are going up. Small business, middle market, large companies are in very good shape. If you look at America in the long term, we have exceptional universities. We have the best military on the planet. We will for a long period of time. We have the best businesses, medium, large, and small. We have unbelievable innovation from Steve Jobs to the factory floor. We've got a great work ethic, very low corruption. We have the greatest military barriers ever built called the Atlantic and the Pacific, all the food, water, and energy we ever want. We're in pretty good shape. Conversely, I say this out of respect, China doesn't have enough food, water, and energy, and they have, they're surrounded by Russia, Pakistan, India, Vietnam, China, North Korea, Philippines. It's a tough part of the world. And even since World War II, they've had skirmishes with 4 or 5 of those nations. They don't have enough food, water, and energy. They don't have a lot of things going for us. So we have it. We're in really good shape.
Now, you said you don't see weakness. You don't see a dark spot in the American economy. Some people would point to income inequality. Do you think that's a real issue? Do you think income inequality is a real issue?
Yes, I do. Early on in recovery, often income goes to the 1% as asset prices go up. But I would like to talk to what are the solutions to it? What should we do about it? So I have 3 very basic ones. Okay, grow the economy more. Focus on growing the economy. Get wage pressure. And then we'll all be sitting there complaining about too much wage pressure. Second, skills training and education. So both the education in the city schools and the proper training. So as kids graduate school, they have a certificate that leads to a job and or college down the road. And I love the idea, and I've heard it from both Republicans and Democrats, of a better earned income tax credit. So being paid to work. So it's an incentive, and I think people are proud when they work, so that working is a good thing to do as opposed to being paid often not to work. So. And there are a bunch of other ideas. But I would love people to sit down around the table and talk about what will fix this. It's not going to fix it just to point at people and yell at them and think that they are to blame.
So you recently became a billionaire. What does that mean? Do you get some text message? Does somebody?
I'm not going to confirm or deny that, and again, it doesn't mean that much to me.
Have you gotten the call from Warren Buffett? Has he asked you to give it away?
I talk to Warren all the time. Oh, I'm going to give a lot of it away, yes. Whatever it is, whatever I have, I'm going to give a lot of it away.
Are you going to sign the pledge?
I don't know. I'm sure I'll do more than 50% when all is said and done.
What are your passion projects? What are you going to give it to?
I have a few, but I think my wife will probably be the main determinant of that.
You had a major life-changing event. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. So far, so good. I get tested all the time.
How has it changed you at all? How has it impacted you?
It didn't change my value system, which I've always literally family first, country and humanity second. And they go hand in hand to me, but I think this country still is the leading beacon in the world. If you actually travel around the world, you feel that way too. And third is the job. But this is the best I can do. So that if I do well here, I can help our employees, I help our clients, I help our communities. And the only real change is that, which I think is just a good life lesson, is that I don't necessarily assume I'm going to live for 10 years. And you want to live very deliberately. Like, why are you doing this? Does it really cause? You want to end every day and say that was a good day.
When you started in the business in the 1980s, about 60% of Americans had a favorable view of the finance industry. Today, that number is 37%. Why so low?
What's it for media?
Well, I have no idea. But I know that we're not near the bottom.
My guess is not that much different. A disaster happened in '09, okay? The American public was hurt. And I think in general, they would look at the culprits as being kind of some combination of Washington and Wall Street. In general, that was true. It was not that every bank was that bad. Everyone made some kind of mistake, and I think it hurt everyone. But one of the things that's happened in society today is we do that to everybody. So if you go way back when, we thought doctors, lawyers, police, stockbrokers were all up there, and now they're all down here. Somehow, and media, somehow we've all lost trust in each other, which I don't think is a good thing. And the only thing I can do as a bank is try to earn it back. And so our customer SAT score has never been higher. Middle market never been happier. Large corporations like us. The countries do business around the world like us. My most important thing is to satisfy my customer and try to be a great corporate citizen wherever you do business, and hopefully we'll earn back some of that trust and respect we lost.
As the leader of the biggest bank in the U.S., do you feel personally responsible to revive the perception of bankers in this country, to make it better, to make sure that people like bankers more?
I can only do my part to earn our trust and respect every day, both with our clients and the communities we do business. And with our regulators and the governments, we try to, we have a lot of demands on us. We make them all happy. I can't single-handedly make Americans love banks.
You can't, but that wasn't my question. My question was, do you feel responsible?
I feel responsible to do my part as best as I can, as long as I'm here, yes.
From the outside, Wall Street has potentially a bit of a PR problem. From the inside, it does seem like an industry under some amount of stress.
I remember when I was a young kid, I worked at a consulting company, and one of the consultants said, he told me on Friday, I need this on my desk on Monday morning at 9 o'clock, and I had to work all weekend. I worked all weekend, I had this report, research based on the desk, and at 9 o'clock he wasn't there, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock calls in and basically says, oh, I didn't really need it today, even tomorrow. I just want to make sure you got it done. I remember telling him, I can't say on TV what I told him. I was a young kid, I remember his name, I said, I'm never going to work for you again. And the consulting, and this is not advice to any young kids out there, they said, well, you can't tell people you're going to work for, they're going to fire you. I said, well, fire me. I'm not going to be treated that way. I don't think people should be treated that way. Look, we want to treat our people great. And by our younger kids, very high satisfaction scores. They still want to have more weekends off, but very high satisfaction with their bosses. And so we do a lot of surveys to try to track how our people are doing.
It's a much more intense industry than it was. Back in the day, everybody made money. Everybody made money. You went into Wall Street, you made money, and a part of the reason that you didn't do it just for the money, but the culture is one that attaches a monetary value to self-worth in some ways. Could that potentially be an issue today with people working on Wall Street? That they're not making enough, they're not making as much as they used to.
So I have two things. First of all, they're well paid. And second of all, I don't agree with your concept that somehow, some people, I know people around the world who go to work and they want to make as much money as they can. And maybe there's more of that in Wall Street than elsewhere. But I know a lot of people here who are proud of what they do. They work hard. They've been working hard their whole life. They earn good money. A lot of people could probably earn more money elsewhere. So I'm not sure that's completely true that way.
Some say you could have made more money by leaving Wall Street.
Considerably, yes. I love what I do. I wear the jersey of this company. I'm going to do this as best I can until I can't. The money would have means, honestly, I shouldn't say this, but it means absolutely nothing to me.
You stress test for everything. You said
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
The Greek exit.
100 a week, everything, yeah.
100
all the time. And we invent new ones sometimes just to scare ourselves, yeah.
How about a Bernie Sanders win? Have you stress test for that?
I don't think Bernie's going to win, but I'm not that worried about that, even if he became president.
Why? You think you could talk him out of breaking up big banks?
Well, I think that's a far more complicated subject. A company like J.P. Morgan, I'm really proud of this company. When I travel around the world, I was just in Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi and Mumbai and Hong Kong, and we help their countries, their people, their companies. They want us. They want more of our capital and our brain power, and we help some of these big American multinationals in 30 or 40 countries. We raised almost $2 trillion of capital a year for big business, small business, hospitals, governments. We just did a bond for Peru. That's what we do. And you need to be a big global bank to do some of that stuff. So
you think that you can convince him?
I would hope so, yeah. I would hope I can convince him.
There's more benefit in being a big bank than breaking them up.
You need them. If you break them up, someone else is going to do it, and they will be Chinese. And if you think that's going to be good for the future of America, I beg to differ.
Sticking in politics for a second, you contributed to Hillary in 2006 and 2007. Why not recently?
I am not getting involved in politics all right now.
At all?
At all.
Well,
I reserve the right to do it later, but I'm not doing it now.
After the results come through? After 2016?
No, if and when I feel like it, I'll do it.
Why, would you ever run for office?
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about supporting a candidate.
Bring up
but
policy.
The public should know J.P. Morgan and its PAC does not support anyone, nor has it ever. Like what we tell our people here, by the way, is listen to both candidates. I urge people to do the opposite. If you're a Democrat, listen to some of the really smart Republicans. If you're a Republican, listen to some of the smart Democrats. Don't just have this knee-jerk reaction all the time.
Well, you brought up policy, right? And so the tax policy has been something that's been debated, and you've admitted that it needs to be addressed, right?
Yes.
Trump was one of the candidates. Actually, he was the first Republican candidate to bring up the fact that Wall Street should pay higher taxes. Do you agree?
Look, I don't know when you say that, okay, we pay, I was actually in Hong Kong, and the chief executive of Hong Kong was talking to a bunch of our clients and stuff, said, by the way, JP Morgan, thank you for the taxes you pay. We pay a lot of taxes. We pay about 30% in cash every year, okay? So we pay a lot of tax. We also pay the FDIC $1.5 billion
Is that
a
your
year.
effective tax rate?
Yeah, cash.
That's your effective,
our
that's
gap and our cash is about the same, around 30%. It changes year by year. So we actually pay that much in cash taxes. So, but forget banks. The issue with corporations is our tax rate's the highest of all developed nations. We are driving capital overseas at the margin. I've always told people in Washington, by the time you figure it out, the only question is how much damage has been done. You can't, forget the right or wrong of it, you can't have a tax that's 10% higher than just about everybody else and think it's going to be good for the country. It can't be good for the country. Those who have a choice of leaving their capital overseas, they're building plants overseas, they're building R&D overseas, and here, people would say, well, you're not patriotic. It's got nothing to do with patriotism. Those are the choices individuals make when they move, when they do things. So we should fix that. It doesn't mean that I don't think we shouldn't fix personal taxes too. I would eliminate a whole bunch of deductions. I'd get rid of that carried interest tax. I do a whole bunch of things too.
So you'd be willing to pay more, you personally?
Yes, but here's the issue about that. I would, but the American public, and one of the things people say is, what they're afraid about with Washington is if you give more money, they just suck it down the Leviathan. I think that Washington owes it to the people to say, if we spend your money, we're going to spend it wisely.
One of the things that the Federal Reserve has done, obviously, is hold down interest rates to spur growth. If you were Janet Yellen, would you have kept interest rates so low for so long?
When you look at, listen, any one of us is easy to sit here and criticize tough decisions people have made. I think that if you look at QE1 and QE2 and QE3 and lower rates, it worked. And so did some of the other things that the regulators have done. America's recovered, the banks are strong, we've added 10 million jobs, asset prices are up, the economies are growing at 2 to 2.5%. So you can't sit here and say it failed. If you take a walk around the world, it's far worse in other parts of the world. At one point, interest rates really low, it's been really abnormal. That probably creates some misallocations of capital. People may have to save more money for their retirement. Normalizing is a good thing. And the Federal Reserve, to me, has made it very clear when they raise rates, they're normalizing, and it's because the economy is strong. So I think the sooner we can make that statement, the more we can move on. I think low rates at this point probably are causing some uncertainty too. So there is certainty created by the start. Now, now we're all waiting on tenterhooks for whether it's this month or that month, and frankly, that's not that important. So, to me, let's do what we got to do, but I'll leave the exact timing to them. They look at a lot more data than I do.
You bring up savers. I mean, there is an unintended consequence to low interest rates, which is Americans aren't earning anything in their bank accounts.
Yeah, and there may be more than that. Someone did do a study and said that if you're saving for your retirement, the thought is when rates are low, you'll be incented to consume versus save. Just basic economics. But the thought is also that if you're going to retire and you're looking at investing for your retirement, you're kind of retiring to a set income level, you have to save a lot more to get to that income level. I'm sure that's true too. It's just hard to know what the full effects of that are. I think normalization would be a good thing. I also think that going back to slightly higher rates is not technically tightening like it was in the old days when people reduce reserves and reduce lending type of things. It won't have the same kind of effect in this new regulatory environment.
The average American feels like overdraft fees are going up. Checking account, there's no such thing as free checking anymore. And they're putting the money in the bank and they're not earning anything on it. Do you think that that has an implication for the way the perception of the way banks do business?
Companies have to charge people for services provided. That's true for everybody. So we can get in this mindset that somehow everything should be given away for free. It's just not going to happen. And like I said, our customer sat score has never been higher. I do think it's true that what they're earning in deposits is very low. That's not our fault. What we earn on is very low too. We have not raised overdraft fees. In fact, you may not know this. We limit them. We got rid of the nuisance. If it's like a $5, $10 thing, we just skip it. We try to limit it, and if you have a legitimate reason, we often give you a break.
I wasn't talking about specifically about your business, but overdraft fees in the industry have come up.
Yeah.
The average.
But bank accounts are a much better deal That's true, and people are charging for things now because they lost other revenue streams and debit cards and all that. But it's a much better deal to have a bank account than to go into the non-bank. And there are some great reports done by reporters that show being non-bank costs $1,200, $1,500 a year, in addition to the higher risk by carrying around a lot of cash, waiting on long lines, possibly the humiliation of it. To pay $10 a month for a bank account, you get a debit card, you get access, you get ATMs. So people should be a little careful to say, I'm not going to do that anymore because it makes me angry. We think 5 or 10 million people have gone to the non-banked, and they're going to even far worse things.
What did you think in August when the market took a hit, potentially because of the data coming out of China, the disruption that happened in the financial markets over there?
Obviously we watch it closely, but I thought it was an overreaction, so I wasn't that worried about it.
You didn't think, oh my God, this is the beginning of something bigger?
No, I did not.
Do you think that China is potentially, or Asia, just the Asian economy, not growing enough? Do you think that potentially could sow the seeds for the next crisis?
So Asia is growing faster than the rest of the world, and China has grown at 10% for 20 years plus. Unlike any other country on this planet, I think it's unreasonable for people to think it's going to grow at a steady pace forever without any ups and downs. So what happened this summer, with the stock market, I won't go through the details, they intervened a little bit. The stock market went from $3 trillion of value to $10 trillion of value, back to $6 trillion of value. It kind of scared people. But it's telling the world that China isn't going to be a steady thing anymore. They are doing a good job. They are very smart. They're still moving slowly towards reform, so we can argue in America, do it faster, but they're still doing it slowly to reform. I think it's very good for the world if they have a peaceful rising. And we got to think about that. So there will be rocky moments. This was a speed bump. We think they're actually going to grow at their 6% this year. 6% is $600 billion of growth. That's more than most countries on the planet. That's a lot more than 10% was in their economy 10 years ago. So that's still a very good thing. It's slower than people expected, but it's still a huge plus. And they have a lot of things to go through. Modernizing their economy, market reform, corruption reform, having a much broader democracy. There's no developed plan in the nation. It's not a democracy. Those are going to be tough times for them. But I think they can get through it, and the likely outcome is, 20 to 25 years from now, they'll can house 20% of the Fortune 2000.
We have a short-termism problem, right?
Yeah.
People want to see results. You talk to investors, you talk to shareholders. Yeah. They don't want to see results 20 years from now. They want to see results tomorrow. How do you do that?
I don't agree with that. I've never made a decision this company based on short-term numbers or something.
You have never, but I'm just saying there is pressure.
A lot of CEOs don't, and maybe some do. So I always urge CEOs, don't forecast your quarterly earnings. Don't put pressure on yourself to do something, because first of all, a lot of...
You can't just ignore that, though. As a CEO, you can't just put blinders on and ignore.
Yeah, you can. That's not blinders. I think you should be transparent, tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. But, like I told our investors, we were talking about we might have $57 billion of expenses this year, and someone said, are you going to meet that commitment? I said, my answer is yes, but if we have an opportunity to spend another $1 billion more that's good for my shareholders, we're going to do it. I'm not going to keep myself to a stupid commitment. So it's not, these aren't commitments. I believe in the transparency, and if CEOs make profits are based on what most companies have done over the last 5, 10, 15 years. If you're in the oil business, probably 30 or 40 years. And you can affect it in the short run only by cutting your marketing budget or doing things you shouldn't do, not opening 100 new branches you probably open. So we open them. Like in the downturn in 09, we upped our marketing credit card spend. We never stopped opening branches or hiring people. That's part of what has been driving our results today. Is because we're gaining share because we made those decisions in bad times. It would have been very easy to say, cut back on all that and show another $1 billion of profit. And we're just not going to do it. We're going to build the systems, the people, the training, and all the things we have to do that make this a great company for the long run. And I should also point out we've been steadfast. We don't go in and out all the time. So every country and every client, we try to be there in good times and bad times. We don't cut and run. We don't hide. We try to do the right thing. And in the toughest times, we will really be there for people.